Hi, my name is Diana Klein, and this is my media presentation. For my presentation, I decided to use an episode of an ABC show named Stumptown. I chose episode 7 from season 1 of Stumptown, and the episode was titled November Surprise. And in this episode, the main character, Dex, who's a private investigator, she faces an ethical dilemma involving a candidate that's running for re-election for state senate. The episode opens up with an election campaign video for Llewellyn Slocum, and in the episode, Dex is hired by his campaign manager to dig up dirt on his opponent, Councilman Dan Gibson. The only dirt that Dex can find on Dan Gibson is a letter that she finds in his office from an old colleague at a college. And when she investigates that, she finds out that while he was a professor at that university, he had an affair with one of his students. And later she became pregnant and had a son. And that woman made a choice to not tell her son or the son's father, which was Dan Gibson. So the very first dilemma that Dex is faced with is the decision to turn in the dirt she found on dead Dan Gibson and get the money that she had earned for doing the job, or choose to respect the mother's decision and not tell her son about his father. Dex was really struggling with this decision, but it seemed like she wasn't going to tell the other side about what she had found. And but she didn't end up actually getting to really make that decision, because the woman that Dan Gibson had an affair with, she lives with her brother, and he felt that since the other side was going to find out anyway, that he would be the one to tell her. And so he was how the other side found out. But Dex still got paid for doing the job, because if it wasn't for her digging into that letter and searching and hunting down the girl, then they wouldn't have ever found this dirt on him. And now that the other side has this information, they plan to publicly announce that Dan Gibson had an affair and a child. And Dex is worried about finding out. He's worried about the son finding out about his father this way. So Dex is faced with her second dilemma, where she must choose whether or not to personally tell Dan Gibson of her knowledge of the affair and the resulting pregnancy. Dex didn't struggle quite as bad with this dilemma, because she knew how important it was to the woman to make sure that this secret was kept from her teenage boy, who was unaware of his father. Let's see. This dilemma impacts several people. It impacts Dan Gibson, his spouse, and Dan Gibson's state senate campaign. It affects how his voters will view him, and affect even how his spouse will view him. It also affects the woman and her family, her brother that she lives with, and her son. It'll have the biggest impact on the boy, because it would be really hard finding out at that age about your father that you never knew anything about. And it would also be hard for Dan Gibson to find out about having a son that he was never aware of. key challenges in determining how to resolve the dilemma. A major challenge that Dex faced with this dilemma is that she didn't have consent from the woman to tell what happened. She didn't have consent to tell Dan that he had a son, or to tell the son that she knew who his father was. She was faced with the challenge of knowing that it wasn't right for this information to get out in this way, and was faced with the challenge of trying to figure out how to keep the other side from spreading the dirt that was found. She also faces the challenge of how to tell Dan Gibson about his son. Of the social work core values, service comes to mind, because the whole reason Dex is even digging up dirt on Dan Gibson is not simply because she was hired to do so. She agreed to do so because she felt a service to the voters, so that they would know not only the good things that Dan Gibson did, but also the negative things, and wanted the voters to have a complete view of who they were voting for. The next value would be dignity and worth of the person. And in the National Association of Social Workers Code of Ethics, it states that they seek to resolve conflicts between clients' interests and the broader society's interest in a socially responsible manner, consistent with the values, ethical principles, and ethical standards of the profession. And Dex was trying to resolve this conflict that appeared in a way that would be ethical, because she knew that it wasn't something that everybody needed to know. The next value is the importance of human relationships. And this value really sticks out to my mind because that's really what's at stake here with the people that this dilemma impacts. You have the relationship between the mother and the son, and you have the relationship that was there with Dan Gibson. It seems natural that any boy would want a relationship with his father, and it doesn't necessarily seem right to keep that from him. But at the same time, if it's the mother's decision, she has that right as well. But if by her son finding out about his father, that would impact their relationship with his mother. And that's an important relationship too. The next value is integrity. And that value is relevant to this dilemma because Dex shows a lot of integrity, because she knows that it's better to keep that secret for the woman than it is to get paid for what she has done. And the discussion questions that I came up with: would you protect the mom's decision to keep Dan from the son, or would you respect the son's wishes to know his father? And the next question was, do you think Dex was right to tell Dan about his son? I guess I never went over how the ethical dilemma was resolved. It was resolved in the episode, and it was resolved in a way that protected the son. It was obvious that the other side was about to go forth with the public announcement, and so Dex decided that she needed to tell Dan Gibson and see his thoughts on resolving the conflict. And they chose to tell the other side that he would drop out of the race if they agreed to never, not now and not in the future, mention his affair and his son. And they signed the contract and agreed. And Dan had to drop out of the race. And that was really, I think, the biggest challenge for Dex. It was definitely her biggest struggle, because she knew by protecting the boy and the mother's wishes that that would mean Dan couldn't run for re-election, and meant that they were losing the better candidate. Thank you for watching.